for Dick. He knows a lot about EAA and this event. He's I don't want to reveal how old you are, but you've been here for a number of years.
300 and no, it's yeah, this is number 29 on staff, and there were probably about 5 before that.
Okay.
First Oshkosh fly-in was 1978.
Oh.
You know, just out of high school, liked warbirds and liked biplanes, and didn't know what a home-built aircraft was, and just it started there. And then '92 joined the staff, and with a bunch of other reprobates that were on the staff at the time, and but had a great time with that, and got my pilot certificate, and then been out flying ever since, and doing all of that. So it's like I said, it's been a joy to be a part of this and back here this year, and being up here once again. First time I've been up here this year. So
that's true. That's true. And again, if you have a question, just go ahead and type it in the chat box there, or if you're on Facebook, put it in the comments, and we'll answer them as we can. And if we can't answer them, we'll make things up. One of the I guess one of the taglines of the advertisement for this was going to be an backstage look at the airshow announcer stand, but I realized that there's really not a whole lot to look at here.
Yeah, you're looking at the stage.
A couple of microphones and lots of paper.
Yeah,
lots and lots of paper.
Well, that's probably something that people don't realize, that it's not just people talking and just making stuff up. There are prescribed comments that go into this, a lot of preparation that goes into this, knowing all the performers, the different military airplanes, just the rhythm of the show, because you're not just talking about reading about the flyers, it's entertainment. What you do as an announcer lends to the excitement in the crowd and so forth. And so it's all part of the showmanship of making an air show possible. And a lot of people don't realize that, all the preparation that go on the background to make it possible.
Yeah. Well, let's go back to opening day. Huge crowds here. And what were some of the highlights that came out of the beginning of the show?
Well, first of all, the number of airplanes we parked here. Jack Pelton said we usually park about 5,000 airplanes the weekend before it starts. This year through Sunday, we parked 7,900 airplanes on Whitman Regional Airport. Now, the South 40 expanded somewhat, which helped with that. But you got ready for that, and then some of the humanitarian aircraft that came in. The C-17 came in early. We saw some of that, and the field was just full of airplanes and full of excitement. So one of my favorites is always going down by the stagger wings. See them lined up, because it's so rare to see a stagger wing in its natural habitat at an airport. It's like a rare bird suddenly appearing, and then to see a row of them there, and just all beautifully restored and polished and so forth. That's fun. Same thing up in the Warbird, seeing the P-51s and the B-25s, whatever else happens to come in. So it was a great start to things on Monday to get them in here. And again, just the excitement and enthusiasm here on the field, in the community, was just very, very gratifying.
And for the first time in a number of years, there's a P-38 Lightning on the field, which we saw fly in the air show today.
It was. See that in the Heritage flight. And that's always something special. Again, another rare bird that comes in, and enjoyed that. Another thing that happened early on in the week, we had 2 Tuskegee Airmen here. George Hardy, and of course, General Charles McGee was here. And those guys are national treasures. General McGee, I think he's 101 now. And to be here and still sharp. And, we won't have these guys around for very much longer. So let's treasure them while we can, and thank them. And we had a number of media here doing special programming with them. Wanted to get a piece of that. Public television was here. Fox 32 out of Chicago was doing a story with them, and so had that. And then we got into Tuesday and had some of the innovations. Saw a volocopter fly. Saw the black fly from opener fly. Those kind of things. And we're not quite the Jetsons yet, but we're getting there. We're getting there.
For those who don't know, describe the volocopter.
Okay. The volocopter is, think of like a Robinson helicopter cockpit, I guess is the best, the cockpit seating area without the boom and the tail and everything else. And then put above it a big hoop, that's probably about 12 feet, 15 feet across. And on top of the hoop is 8 electric motors. And this thing flies. And it flies very well. And and so it's out there, and so it flies, and there you are. So that is, go, wow. And it's part of the whole urban air mobility thing that's coming along, that how are we going to make this possible, where maybe highways will be something less, and you'll land on buildings or in yards and things like that. So, between that and then of course black fly it's like an egg with two wings on it and with electric motors. And I often thought, and I tell people, we've got I-41 that goes right by Oshkosh here. I said, imagine getting tied up in I-41 and you go, nah. And so then you just lift off and go up. Then I realized that somehow you've got a highway down there and a highway up here. And I'm not sure you know these people any better than the people you knew down there. So it's I think there's going to be a little bit of work to do on the regulatory side yet, but boy, it's exciting to think about what might happen.
That is true. And Oshkosh has always been a spot where the innovators come to hopefully unveil their latest creations. And through the years, there have been some that didn't live up to the hype. But the Volocopter and Blackfly, I think, did this year actually impress people. I was amazed by the Volocopter because it didn't look like it should fly, and it did, and it flew remarkably well.
Right. And I told people this year that, okay, back in 2009, there was something called, at the time, White Knight 2. Later, Sir Richard Branson showed up that year and said, I'm naming it after my mother, VMS Eve. Well, that carried the Virgin Galactic spaceship up earlier this month. In 2017, there was a big old rocket booster sitting on Boeing Plaza called Blue Origin. Jeff Bezos came along to be with that. Wanted to show the 7 Apollo astronauts who were here that year what he was up to. Earlier this month, that flew. So what you're seeing here at Oshkosh this year, upcoming years, that will be newsworthy down the road a little bit. It's not just a flight of fancy anymore. It's something that is happening. People are investing in it, and we'll see where it goes. As you said, Steve, some of those work, some of those don't, but it's tremendous to see them.
Certainly is. What is coming up the rest of the week? What are some of the highlights that folks are still coming in, they'll be able to see?
Yeah, well, of course, you saw some of it come in today with the special operations.
That's right.
And they came in a big way. There was no doubt about that. But they'll be here throughout the week, so come on out. If you're here, take a look and talk to some of the crews and so forth. The next 2 days, Friday and Saturday, of course, we have the salute, the 75th anniversary of the end of World War II +1. The years, that is, not wars. Yeah. And so it is, we were going to do it last year, but then there was no last year, so we're back this year. And so the aviation history of World War II. Unfortunately, Doc won't be able to join us this year. They've had a mechanical over in Michigan, so they are down right now. But we'll have airplanes all throughout the era that will be here, part of the Warbird shows, and that's always a favorite. Of course, you saw the Heritage flight today. You mentioned the P-38, which was just wonderful to see that. Night air show coming up on Saturday, and all of those things that are just take place as we head into the weekend. And it's really funny to think we're around the halfway pole already, because you work so hard to get here, and then it moves so fast once it's here.
It certainly does. One of our viewers is wondering, in your opinion, what is the most popular attraction at Oshkosh?
Oh boy. Which one of your kids do you love best? That's really, it depends on what you have. I can tell you that the last 2 days, the UPS 747, which was open for people to visit and walk through, was very, very popular. There were big lines on that. The Orbis Flying Eye Hospital had big lines all the way through. One of my favorites so far, they had a Cobra helicopter here, and they were inviting people to sit in the cockpit. I said, and it just, just don't pull that switch right there, And, so those kind of things are immensely popular. The Warbird shows are always popular to have those Warbirds in review and so forth. There's I guess the best way to put it, Steve, is it depends what you come here looking for. Everybody, and when we worked together years ago, we used to say people come here for different reasons. Everybody has their reason for coming here, and what is that? And the night air show tonight is an example. Some people will come out here for the night air show all the time, and that's such a big thing for many people to make that part of their tradition.
Well, and as EAA founder Paul Poberesny said many times, it's the airplanes that bring us together, but it's the people that bring us back. And really, I think that's the big attraction of Oshkosh, is that you have this family reunion that happens every year. And it's amazing that you'll see someone on the flight line, and Sunday when everything is done and everyone's going home, you say goodbye, and the next year you'll meet that person again, and you'll pick up your conversation right where you were 51 weeks ago. And
Yep.
it's just an amazing place. And it's because everybody is sharing their passion for aviation. And like you said, it doesn't matter what kind, from drones and ultralights all the way up to warbirds and light jets and even big jets.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, there's a little bit of something for everybody.
Well, you'll see something tonight, you know, like there's a father-son team doing the 3D radio controlled Tim and Timmy. You know, here's somebody, a 13-year-old young lad involved in this. And it's just fun to see that. Today we had a news conference for the Ray Aviation Scholarship recipients. We had 4 of them there, and they told their stories briefly about starting with Young Eagles and then moving up and getting involved with the chapter and then getting the scholarship and their flight training paid for. And, you know, you stand around after that and goes, yeah, we're in good hands. You take a look at those kids and you go, we're in good hands. They're dedicated. They're passionate. You know, someday we're going to be the old crotchety guys. Maybe we are already, sitting in the corner of the hangar, drinking bad coffee and saying, boy, you remember when, you know, 100 low lead was $1.95 a gallon? No, me neither. Okay. Yeah. So it's, you know, those type of things that, you know, and somebody's going to have to lead the way, and they're leading the way. And so just as the generation before us, you know, remember, you know, Paul and Bob Hoover and some of those people who were before us who, you know, probably thought we were going to ruin the world too. You know, we managed to hold it together and all be here at Oshkosh, and, you know, they're going to do great. And so it's, you know, great to have those young kids and the next generation coming up and seeing so many of them here. You know, this year was the first year 18 and under are free, and boy, we're seeing a lot of families out here this year.
That is true. And that has been a recurring theme as well. There are a number of themes here at AirVenture, but even in the airshow briefing, they talked about paying it forward and encouraging that next generation, because we're not going to be around forever, and we need to encourage and train our replacements. And Greg Kuntz, one of the airshow performers, he was very, very eloquent in how he talked about how when he was thinking about doing air shows, he really wasn't sure how he was going to get into it. And there were some in the industry who said, okay, Greg, here's some things you got to think about. Here's some things you have to do. You know, if you're really going to commit to this, this is the level you need to do. This is what, you know, the steps you should take, and then helped mentor and coach him along the way. And now he's a full-time airshow performer, right? And now he's looking for, who can I help do the same thing? And he was encouraging everyone to do that, whether it was as a performer or an air boss or PA tech, whatever it is that with aviation, is to train your replacement.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and that reminds me of a story. The first year we worked together at EAA back in '92, you introduced me to the AC Doocy, and we went in there that night, and you know, you ended up, I think, playing pool with Chuck Yeager, I think, that night, because he was looking for a pool partner. And I went to they had the back room there, and sitting around that table, you talk about the air show and legends, Bob Herendeen, the French Connection, you know, Gene Soucy was there. It just, you think back and now, my God, it's Hall of Fame night here. And they're just shooting, you know, stories at one another and talking about, hey, remember that time in Florida we had that air show and this and that. And you just stood there and you were just honored to be in that room listening to those stories, and you picked up so much just on a first year. And you know, those type of things, and you carry that with you. And now, you know, we have the opportunity to continue that legacy, tell those stories, make sure that oral history keeps going, and say there are a lot of people behind us whose shoulders we stand on, and we invite you to do that as well.
Yeah. Has there been a huge difference in the attendance so far with the fact that we're not seeing a lot of international visitors, Canada, over, you know, in Europe?
Yeah. It's been a trade-off a lot. So many people had the pent-up energy for Oshkosh, and we saw it very early on in advanced sales, and it kind of surprised us. And we thought, okay, it's an anomaly. It's going to go away. Right. It didn't. And you know, you can imagine if we had all the international visitors we usually have who couldn't be here because of the travel restrictions. And if you're listening tonight, watching tonight, you know, we miss you here. We want you here. That it is you know, just amazing to see. It's been a trade-off. It's tracking at 2019 levels, which was an incredible year here. And you know, just the number of airplanes and so forth, just making it. And again, it's not just the numbers. It's the enthusiasm that's come with the numbers that say, boy, it is so good to be back. It's wonderful. It's joyful. Let's make sure that we get to do this again and again and again and again. So that's what kind of makes it special. And just listening to airplane sounds in the background tonight is just so much fun.
Let's take a look 10 years ahead. What do you think will be the vision for AirVenture 2031? What do you think this will look like?
A lot of it, and Jack Pelton has addressed this a few times. He said, Oshkosh is always going to look a little bit different. You remember when we started coming here, what it looked like. It was smaller and in some ways more intimate, and but what it has become now as the family reunion is really something. So it will look different. What airplanes will be here, what will be flying here. Some of the legacy airplanes, of course, the vintage will always be here. The Warbirds will always be here. We have to protect those freedoms, and we're working on that right now as well. But we hope the culture will remain. And that's one thing that's very important to pass along. I think we learned it from Paul, back in the day. But let's keep that, and then bring the technology forward. There was a time when they came from Rockford, it was all plans-built aircraft. You're talking about tube and fabric, and then these heretics with composite came along, and then more heretics with kits came along, and but still, all of those came in, and you're always invited. This is the family. You want to be here. Who do we tell to stay home, as Paul used to say?
Right.
It's one of those things. So we have to remember that and invite people in, and say, yeah, it flies. They have a passion for flying. The ultralights 35 years ago came in here and were a major part of it, and they still remain. And now we're seeing the light sport aircraft, and you're seeing urban air mobility, and you're seeing all of that. So the flying, the imagination will always be there, and it's our job to keep the culture here too.
Good. Yeah, and you mentioned the technology, drones. Even 10 years ago, were not even on the radar as far as this. Right. And now there's an entire drone zone, right? Yep. And encouraging that, and just to see how that industry has blossomed, not only as a hobby, but as an actual commercial industry. And a lot of that innovation just starts with people here.
It does, and you see some of the ideas coming forward here, and listening to some of the news conferences and people that are part of it, and the electric aircraft. All right, 10 years ago, we were talking about electric aircraft. Well, you better get a pretty good extension cord if you're going to be flying 400 miles, but now that technology is starting to come forward. Still developing, still improving, but, and then we're going to have what's going to happen with unleaded aviation fuel. How will that affect the fleet as we now know it? All of those things. There are always things that we can be fearful of, but there are always things that we can be looking forward to as well, and be very enthusiastic about.
Just a couple of minutes that we still have with you. What's your favorite two Oshkosh memories?
Favorite two Oshkosh memories? Wow. Number one has to be 1994. And I know we talked about it that year afterwards. 15 Apollo astronauts out of the 25 who were alive were here. NASA couldn't do that for the 25th anniversary. At the same time, the Concorde was here. And I still remember the Concorde taking off in the middle of the Apollo program, and Walt Cunningham said, "That's the sound of freedom right there," and what an incredible memory that was. And one thing, probably the first night air show, because we all thought, people going to stay? Are they going to hang around? And then that night, 25,000 people were on the line and went, okay, I think we've got something here. And to see Bob Carlton in the jet glider flying by with the music in the background, and all you heard was the air over the wings. And you just went, wow, that's a certain piece of elegance. But, again, it's like picking your favorite child. Some days you love others, some better than others, but, you love them all. And every year you have to say, yeah, I love them all.
There you go. Any final thoughts or anything that you're looking forward to seeing yet this week?
This week, of course, the World War II stuff, just getting out and talking to people and getting a chance to look at the airplanes. As you know, the first half of the week for us is such a frenzy, just putting things together, that you don't have that opportunity to talk to people. So I want to get out and really take a look and talk to people again about the airplanes they've brought, and get together with friends and so forth. And because, we have to treasure each of these memories. I always say, when we leave, okay, enjoy this year, because we are never going to be together exactly like this ever again. Some of people move on, some pass on, and you've got to enjoy that moment. So I tell people, if you're here, enjoy the moment, enjoy your friends, see all the airplanes you can. If you're not here, we miss you, we want you here, and we look forward to having you on the flight line in 22.
Sounds good. Dick Knapinski, Director of Corporate Communications for EAA. Glad to see you again.
Yeah, great.
And thanks for spending some time out of your busy schedule to talk with us tonight.
This is the most comfy I've been all day. I tell you, this is great.
Well, thanks, Dick. And I'll have you pass the headset over there to Rick, who is our next victim here on the stage. Hey, Rick. Thanks. So this is all completely live. We're just kind of going by the seat of our pants, which is okay. It's okay. Put the headsets on there, Rick, so you can hear me. There you go. There, Rick Bell, who is with the Commemorative Air Force. Rick, you've been around CAF for a number of years and been here at Oshkosh. How did you fare in the storm last night?
We fared pretty well. We had prepared for it, but the Oshkosh weather people did a great job of making sure we knew it was coming with quite a few loudspeakers, and we were prepared. And fortunately, it was not as bad as they predicted. So we didn't have too much, maybe a garbage can to pick up or anything.
Yeah, on the way in this morning, I saw a few small tents, usually the 10 by 10 pop-ups, things like that just a normal thunderstorm would take care of. But I do know that our neighbors just to the west in Omro and Ripon and Pickett did have some significant damage. And again, as Dick said, we're very blessed to not have that much of a storm hit the grounds here. So for all intents and purposes, the dust is down and we're ready to go into the weekend.
We're quite good. One of the folks with us is an insurance guy, and he said first is no injuries, second is no payouts.
There you go.
So he was very happy about that.
So, Rick, how many years have you been coming to the show?
I've been coming to the show about 12 years. I wish I had been coming longer. I used to go to Sun and Fun as it was close to me. And what's the difference in Oshkosh? Well, I love Sun and Fun, but there's a huge difference in Oshkosh. I wouldn't miss it now. We stay the whole week. It's wonderful.
So what makes it different?
Yeah, it makes it different because it's not an air show. It's not a trade show. You just get memories, people you see all the time. I may be standing to someone who owns 4 Learjets, and I own a third of a ultralight, and we're looking at an electric drone, people carrying drone, and we're going, look at that thing. Is it going to make it or not? I mean, it's just very interesting. The people at the EAA and of the state of Wisconsin are just so welcoming. It's just a pleasure to get here.
Well, it is fun because being a resident of Oshkosh and lived a number of years here, there was always a feeling in the community, not from everyone, but there were always people who were always complaining about the traffic. Oh, all those EAA people are in town there, and I can't get a seat in the restaurant, and I can't go to the Roxy because it's always busy, and all the stores are sold out, and oh, geez, I wish they wouldn't come. Well, this year, when EAA didn't happen last year, they're like, thank you for coming back.
Yes.
So it really is. I think the community also understands a little more the value of what happens here 1 week out of the year. What is it that you're looking forward to seeing, or you already have seen here?
Well, I always look forward to seeing the Warbirds, being in the CAF, and it's great. And a lot of times it's very interesting. I look forward to seeing things I have never seen. So you get here and you're amazed to see, watching them fly the electric powered aircraft with people and things of that nature, coming to see how people have restored airplanes. I know they put way more money in than they're worth, but they love those airplanes. And that's also I like to see, and also see friends you see once a year, maybe here. So it's just a great experience.
Now, CAF, like EIA, has education outreach for young people. One of our viewers is wondering if you think that's really going to make a difference.
I do. It's a good time right now for people to make aviation a career. It's also a great time if they would like to just get involved. And I think the education helps. And now it just really helps us. Our part is much more towards history education, the EAA, just general aviation education. And without knowing this now, I talk to kids who are very interested in history. And I asked one young lady who was, quite smart and quick about when did she think, we were talking about Vietnam, when did it end? She said, I think it was like 1995. So we like being able to educate those people who want to know but haven't been exposed to it.
Yeah. And I think it does have an impact because just looking around the grounds here, and as Dick said, this is the first year for any young person under the age of 18 to be able to come in for free, which is great because now you're bringing families in. The price of admission is a little less, but you're seeing more and more of the, especially in the volunteer ranks. And being an old timer, I'm seeing them grow up and be a part of this. And I just have to think that not only this event, but also all the other outreach, the historical outreach that CAF is doing, has got to influence people in a very positive way.
I totally agree. Yeah.
Do you have any idea how many CAF members are here? I think they all came to your camper the other night.
I think they did. And anybody who missed getting the drink, I apologize. But I think we're going to have probably 350 to 400 members. We have a little event for just our members on Friday, and we have maybe 290. And there's quite a few people. We have CF members who are flying the F-15s here, and they're members and help fly our airplanes and help with us. So we have quite a few members here. They all love EAA Warbirds.
That's good. Well, and someone just said, can you talk about the social aspects and events at Oshkosh?
I certainly can.
I knew you could.
Just for CAF members, in fact, we stay in the RV camping. We come down now. Don't think we're very ambitious. We have a company that drops the trailers off and the air conditioning's on when we show up. But we try to have something called Swamp Fest on every Tuesday that we're here at Oshkosh. So on Tuesday nights, everyone can come by. Everyone's welcome. We absorb the cost because we want to have the socialization with all these people, and they come by. On Thursday, unfortunately, it's a little bit messed up today when the air show changes, but one of our gunfighter, which most people know, that Mustang, the gentleman that is the main sponsor of that, he has a burger burn at one of the houses they rent right off campus. It was very social. We try to invite anybody who wants to come. And to me, that's one of the favorite parts. I met 2 or 3 people walking up here to see you, and everyone is friendly and everyone wants to talk about aviation.
And your experience with Swamp Fest is multiplied in the campground. There's 40,000 people who are camping out this week at Oshkosh, separate from the Warbird camping, which is sort of on the north end of the field, but west of where we are is Camp Scholler. And you have everything there from people in tiny little pop-up tents to $1 million motorhomes, and they're all just getting together and again sharing that social aspect and the common interest in aviation.
Right. And when you ask me if some of my favorite things here, I do like walking down and through a few rows of Camp Scholler because we don't get that experience with trees and the setups people have, and it's very interesting and meeting more and more people that way.
Yeah, and see, I'm just going through our list of questions here. Oh, well, you've been doing some work helping set up some new CAF units.
That's correct.
And tell us a little bit about that initiative.
Well, we started an initiative, and I don't want to take credit for that. I just am assisting with that. And to be totally honest, I'll apologize to all of them. I didn't think it worked as near as good as it has. But we've been trying to find, in the past, one of our failings have been maybe a new unit. They have 15 people. They just started, and we're going to give them a steerman to fly. And we ship them 16 crates that the steerman's in, and they have to try to restore it. Now we've gone to buying some PT-19s and aircraft of that type. We've trying to get places. We have a new unit just started in Nashville. In fact, Aaron Tippin, the singer, is helping with that one. We have one that's going to be starting in Birmingham. We have one probably in Huntsville, and we have one in Nashua, New Hampshire. So it's very interesting. This works well. Anybody who wants to start a unit, we have on the CAF website, you can find a place to put in, and we'll try to find people around your area that are interested in that. It's very, you like seeing how people get fired up and go, we'd love to have a unit here. We just never have.
Good. And you are a member of several different units.
Correct.
Tell us about those.
Well, a lot of times we'll join a unit, especially a new unit or things, just to kind of help them out. And I just because of geography, I can't be quite as involved. The one I'm most involved with, the company I worked for before was based in Memphis. So I commuted to Memphis, and I'm very involved with that. We had one of our members there who had donated a hangar and had a restored Hawker Sea Fury that his airplane's no longer with the CF just because we moved on to something different. Nothing bad happened. We just started one in Pensacola called the Floribama Wing, and it's fun. They have an L5. We have a very diverse group of Navy and Air Force retirees and active duty instructors in doing that. Like I said, the unit in Nashua, which is a brand new unit, they have a PT-19 we're going to give them. And the B-29, people want to get involved with the bombers. Those airplanes move around the country. So they have the most diverse geographic members because when that airplane was in Nashua, we discussed, it's based in Texas. But we have members who live in that area who will come out and assist.
Does it surprise you at all the growth that CAF has seen, especially in the last few years?
A slight bit, because we've sent it down. Some of the membership-based organizations, not even just in aviation, have had a bit of trouble with that lately. We still do. We offer a pretty good value for your money if you have a unit there. We have a lot of people who just join the CAF just to be a member and maybe help here or there. It's been very good. It's amazing to listen to the diversity of how they found out what they did. I joined the CAF having heard about it before the internet, not knowing anything. I was in the LaGuardia airport and found an application on a table. So I filled it out, sent it in, and that's how I became a member. So now we're trying to make it much easier than that with the internet and all those high-tech things we have now.
Well, someone wants to know what's in the Boeing Plaza behind us. I did know what was there before the Air Force Special Operations Command brought all their toys in this afternoon. But just kind of looking over our shoulder here, and I realize the sun is going down in the camera, but it looks like a couple of the Air Force Special Operations there, and they're very special operation C-130s. And
has some B-22s.
Yep.
I think most of these, I live in the Panhandle of Florida in Fort Walton Beach, which is right on top of the Special Ops Command that's right there at Hurlburt Field. A lot of those have come from Hurlburt.
Yeah.
So
looks like an Osprey from here, and the DC-10 from the Orbis Flying Hospital, and yeah, this we can see from here, along with Michael Goulian's Goodyear 10, which is right behind us. Michael is, of course, one of the air show performers who would be taking to the skies, and a favorite here at Oshkosh, and just the airplane that's kind of taxiing out. And I don't think we can catch a picture of it at the moment, but it is a twin beach, and we have some twin beaches in the CAF inventory. They're very popular airplanes, and they have been since the day they rolled off the factory line.
Yeah, they're very good, and they're C-45s in the military. There's I believe, DRB in the Navy. Great airplanes for people to experience vintage aviation. We can carry a few folks in them when we give rides.
Yeah, and we're going to watch it go by in the camera here in just a moment. The white airplane that you're looking at is the Twin Beach. Matt Youngkin, who flies, and he's a CAF member as well. He flies an incredible routine in a Twin Beach named Miss Ellie that he has, and he's been flying that routine for a number of years. You can see it now going by. But this particular airplane, the white airplane that you're looking at, was his dad's airplane, Bobby Youngkin, and Bobby flew freight for years and years, about 8,000 hours worth of flight time flying cargo in that airplane. And if you know the story of the freight dogs, you know that a lot of times they were flying in very marginal conditions in kind of rickety airplanes, and they have quite a few stories. Well, anyway, Matt was able to find that particular airplane. That's the one that his dad owned and flew for many years, and he bought it. He's going to restore it. But what he's also doing here is, and we talk about, capturing those memories, he is asking all of the freight pilots who are here at the show to come and do an oral history on tape to capture their stories so that we can share them with future generations. And he wants to make a documentary about the freight dogs, and it's a great project, and there's been a lot of interest in it so far.
Yeah, that'll be a great historic thing too, because freight doesn't operate now like it used to. It is a whole different thing. And Matt he flies the B-29 among other airplanes for us. So he is one of the CF pilots.
And he's also been on our Warbird Tube webinars as well. So, and speaking of the B-29, it's always a question, is Fifi here? She is not. She's out on tour. They were in Janesville, Wisconsin, which is just south of here, over the weekend, doing a Warbird weekend, which they normally do, and off on tour. We were hoping that Doc, the other B-29, would be here, but it is actually down. They had a little maintenance issue, so Doc is stuck over in Michigan at the moment. So it will be an interesting Warbird show if we're going to tell the entire history of World War II without a B-29, but we'll be creative.
Well, that is true. And those are the only two flying, and they do require a lot of maintenance. So.
As do all the airplanes, and they're all to different and varying degrees. And Rick, are you flying anything at the moment?
I'm not flying right at the moment, as I have a slight medical issue until it's done. But I've flown the bombers. I've flown the B-7. I've flown the B-17. That's what I want to fly. I have flown the B-24 and the B-29. I've flown the B-25 and some of the trainers and all that. And of course, we've operated the Hawker Sea Fury. So. And we also have a jet. We have a T-33 jet, which I was flying that, which is the only jet the CF operates. And it's a very beautiful airplane, and we're trying to tell some history. Quite a few Air Force and even Navy pilots started training in that airplane.
In your opinion, what is the coolest airplane to fly? If you had your choice of any of them.
Boy, that's a hard thing. I think I do like the A-26 that was in service in World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. Just the history of that is amazing to me. The airplane flies quite fast. They pretty much had figured out aerodynamics by then. It's one of the very few bombers. The general in charge of that, his name escapes, and he said, "We're not going to have this bomber ready for the next war. We want it ready for this war." And they got that airplane in the war before it ended, which is pretty amazing, unless you're pushing a project so big like the B-29.
So what's your favorite aspect of being a part of CAF?
My favorite aspect is always the socialization. I love interacting with our veterans. Unfortunately, we're losing so many. That's one of the times at Oshkosh, we had a B-17 here, and I ran into a gentleman from New York who said he flew half a mission. I said, half a mission? He said, yes, first mission he was shot down and started working for the Germans after that. So it's very interesting to talk to the veterans. And like I said, we get to talk to the Korean War veterans, and we're just losing so many World War II veterans. You had talked earlier, our Tuskegee Airman Tribute aircraft has been here, and General McGee and Colonel Hardy, they're just pleasures to work with. You would never know their age when you talk with them.
Right. Let's see, we got another. Oh, here's another question from one of our viewers. Aside from Oshkosh, what are some other can't miss shows?
Well, I'd always say the CF Home Show, which is in Dallas, and it's we call it Air Show, spelled without the W, or Wings Over Dallas. That's an all Warbird air show. Because the airspace there, we can't have things like the Blue Angels, but that's okay because we invite other groups or individual Warbirds, and it's a wonderful show. The other one I would say, Wings Over Houston is one of the biggest shows in the nation, and it's great. They have all the teams. I think this year they're having the Snowbirds also with the Thunderbirds, and it's an amazing show. We have all the Warbirds, quite a few are based there, and then we have all the modern military there also.
Good. Any final thoughts before we wrap up?
No, I just want to tell everyone, look up the CF and look up EAA. This place is wonderful. Everyone is amazingly nice. If someone is yelling at you as a volunteer, that's because you're doing something unsafe. They're always very pleasant, easy to work with. They don't have very many problems, and we solve them. They help so much. So we'd like to then, in EAA Warbirds of America, which is the division of the EAA, I want to really thank them too for marshalling airplanes in. It's a special skill with all these fighters we can't see over the nose. And come out, if you've never been here, come out and enjoy the show and check out the CAF. We'd love to have folks as a member.
All right, sounds good. Rick Bell, CAF member, a former member of our general staff, our board of directors, who has helped shape the future and is now working to bring some new units online.
Yes, and thank you, Steve, for having us over here.
All right, well, enjoy the rest of the show.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Well, we were hoping that Nate Hammond was going to be here. Nate does a skywriting. He does skywriting and also does a night show routine, but I don't see him.
Okay,
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, hey, Dave, time. We're going to find a new victim. Hey, have a seat. Let's talk about air shows. We've got Dave coming in to sit down, and Dave is one of the long-term announcers here at AirVenture. We'll let him get his headsets on here. There you go. Hi, Dave.
Steve.
Dave, how many years have you been announcing here at Oshkosh?
I think we figured out the other day 33.
Okay. And what's the biggest change you've seen?
The biggest change, it's just the exponential growth. A lot of it seems to not have changed, and a lot of it has changed dramatically.
Right.
The thing that really hasn't changed is the camaraderie and the way people get along. And, you know, if you're airplane folk, you're good folk, really, basically, that's how it turns out. But the growth of the whole organization and this site is amazing.
Yeah. And through the years, you've announced at a number of air shows.
I have.
I understand you were in South America a time or two.
Well, I was in Central America, in Guatemala and El Salvador a few times, and had the privilege of being the air boss for the Thunderbirds in Guatemala and El Salvador one year. That was interesting, to say the least. But yeah, it's I've been around Canada and U.S. and done a lot of air shows.
There you go. What makes, in your opinion, what makes this one different?
Again, this one is filled with aviators. You know, most air shows, you have a handful of aviators and you're trying to put on a good show for the public. And here you have huge numbers of aviators and a handful of the public. So it's kind of a reversal, but it's just a wonderful show. People obviously enjoy it or they wouldn't keep coming back.
That's right. One of the things I enjoy with the announcing aspect of it is that you can be technical and not lose the audience.
Right.
You don't always want to get into all the nuts and bolts and rivets and things like that, but you can lean toward the more technical side and know that your audience is able to understand what you're
And
talking
you can
about.
also get in big trouble by
Well, that's the other
because
thing, too.
somebody out there knows that what you said is just not quite technically true, and they're not afraid to come and tell you about it.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. What's the air show announcer's credo? If what I say doesn't match what you found in your book, you're right.
Yeah, there you go. I think probably my biggest come up, it's right here on this stage. One year was with Chuck Yeager. We were talking about somebody's P-51. I think the one he was flying at that point. Jack, what's his name's airplanes?
Jack Roush.
Jack Roush's airplanes. I was talking about the mighty Rolls-Royce Merlin engine, and he said, "Sir, let me tell you right now, that Merlin engine is not a Rolls-Royce. It was manufactured by the Packard Motor Company in the United States of America." And that's just the way he said it. I was like, "Okay, Chuck, thanks."
Thank you.
I mean, we're live on the mic when this happens, so
Oh.
yeah,
Even better.
yeah, even better.
So, any other interesting stories you can think of? I know I grabbed you just right
Yeah.
offhand.
Oh, there's a million stories. The late
okay,
great,
ones that you can
Yeah.
share to a family.
yeah,
audience.
the late great Roscoe Morton had many stories. Obviously, a legend in his time. The late great Walt Troyer as well. Gosh, Steve, just to pick some out of the blue is hard to do. But yeah, many good stories, and met a lot of good people. I mean, where else do you meet Harrison Ford and Richard Branson?
Yeah.
Folks like that. I mean, I know you got to meet a lot of them when you're young Eagle Roll, but yeah, it's celebrities. It's I don't know. They're just all folk. You know, when they come up here, it's just we're at Oshkosh.
That's right. I'm going through the questions that some of our audience members have sent through, and they're a little bit of a delay between what I'm seeing and our guests. But one person wants to know if there are any authentic German World War II aircraft still flying, and the answer is yes.
Yes. Oh,
I
yeah.
can't tell you how many, but I do know that in recent years there's been some restorations of German aircraft. Same with Japanese aircraft.
Right.
That would not have happened without some of the advances in technology that have taken place.
Yeah, a lot of them are being rebuilt by data plate. So
Right. But yeah, so there are some. We talked to Keegan Chetwin from the Military Aviation Museum in Virginia Beach, and I know they have several. They have a hangar full of German aircraft, but a few of them fly, including an ME-109. So it's been a growing aspect, and we'll see more and more. I think it's the Collins Foundation that has the ME-262, the twin jet.
one of the things that amazes me about the German and the Japanese aircraft is how small they really are.
Right.
And especially the cockpit. I mean, they must have been a lot of small people because, some of these Germans weren't small. They were big guys. They just have to stuff them in in these airplanes. But it's quite a history, and it's nice that people are preserving it.
Yes. Another question: do you think, given the space flights that people are the ones that have just taken place, the people are more interested in space, and does EAA plan on doing more with space travel? I would say there's a renewed interest in space from when we were kids, and the Apollo, Gemini, Mercury, Apollo was all going on. That was the thing that you kind of you wanted to be an astronaut, and that sort of went away in the space shuttle, and then in subsequent years, it's kind of died off, and that was all government run.
Yes.
And I think now people are starting to see that maybe there is a future in commercial space travel.
Absolutely, but at the moment it's going to have to get what am I trying to say?
A little more affordable.
Yeah. The industry's going to have to mature,
right,
to where it comes to a point where maybe someone can afford it, because the ones that are doing it now are obviously the world's richest man and one of the world's richest men. So that's not very EAA stuff. You're not going to make one of these in your garage like they did. But but yeah, I think it just heightens everyone's interest on aviation and as a whole. Where do they all start?
Right
aviation.
here. Yeah.
Yeah.
As Dick Knapinski mentioned earlier, White Knight was here.
Yep.
And Spaceship One, which eventually became what Richard Branson flew into space.
That's right.
Just a month ago. So the innovations that we see today, who knows where they'll be in the future.
Yeah.
And also echoing what Dick had said is that this is the place for innovation, whether it's drones or unmanned aerial vehicles or space travel. This is really a cool place. So if you've never been here, you just need to be here.
Yeah.
Because it is the center of the aviation universe for 1 week out of the year.
Yep. And there's another. You want to know a story? Here's a story. In that room right behind you, I heard an interesting conversation between Burt Rutan, Richard Branson, Roscoe Morton, and a couple of other folks from around here about that visit when Spaceship One was here.
Yep.
I don't think I can repeat what I heard. It was an interesting conversation nonetheless.
Oh, yes.
Kind of think that where else are you going to hear that?
That's true. That is very true. So we are just about out of time because we're going to run up against the night air show itself.
It looks to me like they're about ready to call us over to the other mics.
That's what I'm thinking. As we're starting to assemble. I don't know if Tommy back at the studio, if you can swing one of our cameras over to the lecterns there and see just kind of some of the equipment that is kind of getting set up and getting ready for the night air show.
Like
of course, air shows are
in.
yes. Night air show is always interesting too because for us announcers, the light goes away, and when you turn on a light, all the bugs from Oshkosh come out.
Yes, they do. So that is a fact.
There we go. We've got a shot now. I see the Air Force Heritage Team. That's the two young gentlemen that are standing up there. They're going to be talking about the F-16 flying in the show, and so you can kind of see what we've got there. It's nothing magical and high tech, but it does the job, and we're looking forward to having a great night show.
You bet.
All right. So we'll check the board one more time. No additional questions. And Dave, I appreciate you dropping in and just kind of sitting in with us for a few minutes.
Anytime.
And I'm sure in about 5 minutes, Nate will show up. And
I'm sure.
And wonder why we're all done. But it's okay.
If some of these folks that are listening to this at this moment are here in Oshkosh, I would tell them, have fun, because that's dandy.
Yes, that is true.
And if they're not here, get here.
All right. Dave Keim.
Somebody just joined our chat.
Hey, LaRue, you're in the camera. Step out. Oh, there you go. So I think that was our call to duty.
Yeah, I think so.
So, hey, everybody who has been watching, thank you very much for being a part of this. And this was really experimental from square one with the cameras, the audio setup, and everything else. But we appreciate you being part of the CAF Warbird Tube webinar. We'll be back next Wednesday night. We're going to have another guest. This time it'll be in studio, in home, so it'll be rock solid. But again, thank you very much for joining us tonight. Big shout out to EAA Radio for helping with the technical end of this, and Leah Block back in Houston making everything work. Well, Dave, you and I've got to go to work now too.
We do.
All right. Thanks for being here. And, we'll see you next week.